onion. The onions, well, some of them anyway, they're a lot more in the greenhouse, in the big greenhouse. But I tried some of these tropeos, a couple different varieties, about 1,000 each. We'll see. Irrigation time here too. 12,000 onions, red, sweet Italian onions that I got sold, I guess. Sold them all last year and said he'd take them all again this year, so. Dreaming about transplanting machines that can do this, because by hand we're feeling it. Those seem to stand right up and look nice after a little water. But then they look like hell for about a week. Potatoes and onions and a group of garlic this year mostly. Some pumpkins and kabocha squash up there, and a few Asian veg sold to some restaurants around here. 20. Pulling onions today. Got some good size in some areas and smaller in others. I'd say the average size somewhere in here. This is Rodrigo. Dice, hola, Rodrigo.
Hi.
Here's these Italians. I see some nice ones here. Definitely curious to see how they taste. I got a couple varieties of these. Here's one. Another variety here. Looks a little more room. These tropeos. We had 14 inches of rain in the month of July, and 10 inches or 8 in August. I haven't even looked. So when we pulled these onions off in July, this is one of the few hot sunny days. So I opted to pull everything into the shop, get them up on tables to dry, and they were stacked deep and wide in there. I had 8 4x8 tables on the tables and underneath, double deep. So we loaded them in the totes, those yellow totes you could see there, and stacked them in the pickup and brought them into the garage and loaded them on the tables. Next year, I'm going to let the onions cure a little bit. In the field this year, we brought them all in. There's still moisture, humidity in the onions. So when I'm delivering them, we're putting them out in tomato trays, out of my totes into tomato trays, so they still cure a little bit. In the customer's barn, then they run them through a Haynes machine and clean them up. 2023 red onion harvest. Two Tropeo red onion trials in here. These flat Italians look interesting too. We'll see if you can make anything happen with these. I planted, I don't know, 100 feet of them. So you can see this variety here. And you can see this variety here, the size difference. Next year, this will be the variety we grow on the regular artisan reds. Much bigger size. Compared to Longo di Tropea. Rosso Longo di Tropeo. Se llama. Son de Italia. Sí. Supuestamente tienen un sabor muy especial. Vamos a ver. We'll see how these onions do compared to Italy. 90% of the crop that I grew this year was a numbered variety 205 that I trialed last year. In addition to that, I put about 300 feet of 307 in, and that's going to be 90% of the red onion crop next year. I also trialed 2 Tropeo types and a flat Italian red. The Tropeos are reds also. And I did 3 yellow onions, Australian brown, Patterson, and a yellow Parma. Next year, it's going to be all yellow Parma, and I'm not trying Patterson or anything else. These are Italian sweet onions. They're originally from a company called Denise and Felice, which was a onion grower in Hollister, California, based in Hollister, California, and they're really fantastic eating onions. You can eat these onions almost like an apple. They're so sweet and juicy. So we start from seed transplants in a greenhouse. We did that the first week of February, February 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, something like that. We started 60,000 plants. We start the trays with 4 seeds per cell. I think they were 1/28, and then separate them as we transplant. We transplanted these in early June. We put them in rows of 3. You can see in the other pictures. Supposedly that helps the plants to, the onions to size up. This variety here is a little smaller than we'd like. The variety we'll plant, this variety is a numbered variety. They're all numbered varieties. But if you come a little closer, I'll show you next year's variety. Like I say, this variety is a 205. And you can see the size average here, you know, ranging, you know, these like this. You know, not bad, but running on the small side for 3-pound bags. This can be used in a loose situation. These here are another numbered variety we have access to. This is what we'll grow next year. You can see compared to those other ones, sizing up a lot better. And so this system of drying is not the best. I had too many onions. I got them stacked a little deep. So the moisture is not fully out. Plus, it's been really humid. Plus, we probably grew a few too many onions this year. So next year we'll grow a few less. Here's a Tropeo Italian type onion. We'll see how this one works at market. Eats incredible, but really the ones when they grow them in Tropeo in Italy have a much better flavor than we can ever try to reproduce here. Of course, I like anything that relates to market gardening, vintage market gardening. You know, for a few hundred years, market gardening on a semi-technical level, certainly for the past 150, 170 years. This shovel was made in Western Massachusetts specifically for shoveling onions. And people might say, well, what's the big deal of onion shovel? Well, all the soil that's on the onions, or a lot of it, will fall through. So as we pile them up on the table here, we're not putting the soil on top. So it's a much cleaner onion that we're trimming and putting into the tote. But it's just a fantastic piece of well-made craftsmanship. And I wonder if I could even find somebody that could repair, or I don't think we could find anybody that knows how to make something like this anymore. Onion shovel. Just making some space in here to get those onions out from under. Like I say, you know, they were a little bunched up. And so I want to get under this table and under that table over there and get them spread out. When I was growing up, we called onions and potatoes and rutabagas and all that stuff hardware. That was about all I could handle, because I'd be bruising all the apples and everything else. I didn't leave the onions in the field at all to dry. I was worried it was going to be too much rain. And I sort of was second guessing myself, but I was reminded by Grisha the other day that it's sort of like firewood. You can leave these onions out under a little bit of rain. They're stacked a little deep on these tables and deep on the floors, but so there's still some moisture in these onions, still some green. You see this isn't cracking and flaking off. So it's been very humid. See some green in there still. Yeah. But, you know, onions are very durable. And so even though it was wet in the field, and we have some onions with bottom rot, just white rot, whatever, just mold, phytophthora, whatever's naturally there because it was so wet, it's not spreading in the piles here. These tables are just simple hardware cloth. This happened northern white cedar. It's what we use to build raised beds with. They work great. You know, other people talk about totes and other trays and other sorts of things. I use these tables to merchandise pumpkins and stuff right out front on cinder blocks. Or Jeff reminded me about using 5-gallon buckets, which is great. It's a really good idea instead of lugging around cinder blocks. But so we probably have another, I don't know, 3,000 pounds after today's shipment of 1,500 pounds after 2. So that's 14 times 3 times 280. Make every one an even 50 pounds. So it's just a standard platform scale. Again, an old school tool that still works just as good as when it was built in the early part of the last century, or the late. I think the patent is 1856 patent, 1867. So
Just a standard platform scale, made in Vermont. Here's the Massachusetts seal of standards. I don't know if that's still valid, but it works. Each tote weighs about just a little over 3 pounds. So I put a total of about 55 pounds in, tear it off, there's a little bit extra in each one, which is the way I was just always taught to do it. Hopefully the scale, I suppose I could measure the scale, but you see I max it out, you know.
How do you know when it's full?
When this balances out here. So I've got this set at 55, 54. This weighs about 3.5 pounds. I'd max it out. So balance would be 50, 54 pounds, and I bring it up to the top. So it's a little more. All right, so 1,250, 1,350, 1,400 pounds of red onions, sweet red onions, ready to go to market.
The great onion spill of 2023. Not quite as dramatic as the great Boston molasses spill of 1723. I don't know when it was. Anyway, not strapping down the totes or not stacking them properly, I'm not sure. I'm not paying attention going around a corner. 100 pounds of onions on the street in Medway, Massachusetts. Actually, a cop came by, helped me get the totes and said, leave them right there. Nice cop came by. The 1,250 pound shipment went down to 1,150 pound shipment of that one variety anyway. Yeah, be more careful.
Anyway, you live and learn. So a couple $100 worth, so $100 worth of onions down the drain. Dry these down more. Throw a little moisture in them. They do good in these old Holland tomato trays. Dry out nice. stack so deep, you know. Then we'll run them in the machine. I got that on film. Spindly boy almost goes down. Easy, like eggs. Here, packed up and then packed in 2 pound bags. Sure. Could be 3 pound. 2 or 3 pound bags. I'll send you a better video. That video I just did was good. So that's the machine. American made, Haynes, I think, probably a Haynes machine, I bet. So it's on here, Haynes, yeah, Haynes equipment, in New York. I don't know if they're still in business or not. Simple machine, just polishes the onion. It's going to take that, and onions will heal and cure, so even a wetter area will dry down. But this helps to do that. You want to do it once it's cured. Run the machine through. You just set the coats right here.
Set the coats here.
Yep.
And the vacuum sucks the skins into
Right
this
out.
bag.
That's fantastic. That is so cool. Yeah, that's delicious. Huh? Native organic red onion. That's good.
How long have you been retailing fresh produce?
Oh, I started at my father's store, I'd say 1960.
How
60
old?
years.
How old were you?
8 to 10, everything. You know, I used to be on the tractor farm, or, you know, I'd go to the market with him, the old Faneuil Hall market, when they incidentally still had horses and buggies. If you can believe it. Not that long ago.
What do you enjoy most about running a fresh produce
All the seasons, all different seasons. Although all the seasons are starting to blend because produce comes from all around the world. No longer just a citrus season. You have citrus year round. No longer asparagus season, it's year round. But I still wait until locally grown grass, asparagus.
Why is selling locally grown produce important to you?
Oh, because it's a connection for the community to where we live. We're eating from the dirt that we live on. Very important.
What do you look for when you are buying items for retail?
Mostly flavor. Flavor. Looks is important. You have to get it by the eyes first, but it got to taste good. Everything has to have some sugar, sweet.
What advice would you have for someone starting in the retail fresh produce business?
Well, you got to be prepared to work. You got to be prepared to put in your 60, 70-hour weeks. It's not easy. Just you really love it. You got to make up your mind and do it.
It gets in your blood. There's something very satisfying that comes with that taste. Any other advice?
Exactly.
Huh?
Exactly.
Hard work and passion.
Passion, yeah, you gotta really want to do it. Well, that holds true for anything.
Yes.
Holds true for anything.
But there's more magic than this thing. All right, we've got our final shipment of the Grallert Farm onions off to Idylwilde Farm in Acton. Fairly good season for the second year, and looking forward to next year. The other thing I want to add is, so I don't do this because I make a lot of money doing it. We make a little money probably doing it, but I do that because I love it and I'm passionate about it, and I want to be involved in the local food system, growing things organically. And it's very, very exciting to me from seed through retail to be involved in that. And I think society in general misses that. And so maybe some other people might get inspired to become involved in local organic vegetable growing. And then G tells me we'll make some more videos. We've learned how to use Dropbox and the video editing equipment. And before the snow flies this year, we may get some videos up about garlic planting and potato harvesting and some fall tillage and cover cropping and things like that. Anyway, thanks.